Okay, so let's start with some nice shoulder moving stuff, but also let's lie down because, it's Friday morning and it's almost Christmas and
Try not to go back to sleep.
around. So grab your yoga tune-up balls if you have them. And if you don't, you can just do the arm movements. Pop the yoga tune-up balls under, oh, so good, under the top of your traps. So just a reminder, this is the one where you want the balls high enough up that they're sort of only half underneath you. So they really are right at the very top of the meaty part of your shoulder, where if you have a massage, you want somebody to really get in there, as opposed to farther down, fully underneath you, which would be more under your shoulder blades and is often not so comfy. And start here with your arms out to your sides, with your palms facing the ceiling, and just move your shoulders around a little bit so that you're creating your own little movement massage. So you're just shrugging your shoulders up, maybe one at a time, maybe both at the same time. Maybe, you're just try and make your shoulders and the balls mush together. No particular pattern. And then reach your arms up for the ceiling and go for a nice slow toy soldier. So really glide one arm up and the other arm down. Feel for this nice, smooth, glidey, gentle pressure on your traps with the balls. And so, of course, you're staying in a range that makes it feel like a nice, smooth, gentle pressure. One more in each direction. Come on back to center. And then do the same thing coming out to the sides. Just a nice wafty, seaweedy, gentle out to the side and back. You can really let your arms, your elbows bend and straighten, let your fingers and wrists move along with your arms. You can bring some attention to keeping your ribs heavy into the floor. So as your arms come out to your sides, you don't end up with a lift of your back. But arms themselves, really nice and soft. And now increase the range of your motion. So you cross your arms all the way over your chest so that you have your left hand by your right shoulder, and then open out to your side. And then again, cross all the way over. And each time you cross over, bring the opposite arm closer to your face. One more on each side, So one more time for each arm in front. And then go for nice big circles. Again, arms as relaxed as they can be. So really you can let them be right down on the floor if that's comfortable for you, and then cross them over your body as you come up. I'm dragging my yoga tune-up ball tote in a big circle. Change directions. last one. And rest, and take the balls out. Oh, that should just feel very spacious and lovely behind your shoulders. Now take the balls and switch them down and put one ball on each side at the back of your pelvis. So we're not looking for like right in the middle of your glutes. It's a little bit more, a little closer towards your lower back. So more the center of your pelvis under each SI joint is a good starting place. Although if that doesn't feel good for your pelvis, then you would shift them a little bit and then just sweep from side to side. If you don't have yoga tune-up balls, then weirdly, you can just take your fists, and put your fists behind your hips and do a little sweep across your knuckles. And then take the balls out or take your hands out. Cross, do we want to do that? Yes, cross your right ankle over your left knee. So you take the balls out, just in case I didn't say that clearly enough. Balls come out, ankle over knee. Start with just ankle circles with your right ankle. Left foot nice and planted onto the floor. Change directions. And then you can either, well, everybody just take a moment and set your trunk so your waist is the same length from side to side and your butt is evenly weighted left to right on the floor. And then from there, you can either just keep your foot on the floor if you want to focus on that range and that position for your leg in your hip socket, or you can bring your left leg in which case you want to hang on to the back of your thigh, or you could wrap a yoga strap around your leg if you want to come up but have a less noticeable angle. And if you're bringing your leg up, you want to make sure that you're keeping your left leg in line with your left hip socket. You're not letting your leg cross over towards the right. And that you're still thinking of your sit bones being wide and pointing straight towards the wall in front of you rather than rolling. So you're trying not to roll onto your lower back. You want to stay on your pelvis and keep spreading, finding some space for the muscles across the back of your pelvis. And you take another couple of breaths here. And then bring your leg down, unhook your right ankle, bring up your left ankle, and same thing, get yourself nicely set, waist evenly distant, but evenly placed, and ankle circles. Change directions. Pause, and then assess on this side, because we have different degrees of tension in our hips, right? So are you still nicely lined up in your alignment? And is it going to be appropriate on this side to bring your leg up or not? So you make your choices. And if you're bringing your leg up, take that extra moment to make sure you haven't rounded your pelvis, right? Bringing your leg up doesn't also curve your back. So you're trying to maintain that nice long line of your pelvis reaching towards the wall. And then, take a look at your right leg. Is it pointing straight up towards the ceiling? Usually that's an easier set of parameters to meet on one side than it is on the other. Right? On one side, you'd be like, yes. of course, my butt is on the floor and my leg is pointing towards the ceiling. That's a silly kind of correction to have to make. And then on the other side, you're like, oh, now I get it. Everything is cockeyed on this side. And hold for another couple of breaths. Excellent. Okay, bring your leg down. Or legs down if you had them up in the first place. And we'll go for a rolling bridge, get a little bit of movement into your spine. So arms down by your sides, palms facing the floor, feet planted into the ground. Nice heavy connection through the back of your skull, the width of your shoulder blades, the base of your ribs, little light floatiness in your lower back, and then weight through your sacrum. So remember, the mobility here is actually driven by your stomach muscles. So we're going to move your back, we're going to move your spine, but we're not doing it by activating your back muscles, we're doing it by activating your stomach muscles. So really thinking about moving from the front, start right at the very bottom of your spine, curl your pubic bones around, and just do that until you can't move any farther. And then and only then do you start to put some weight into your feet. Because you can drive this with your abdominals to a certain distance, height off the floor, and then you do have to use your legs and your hip muscles, and that's fine. So come up only, you want to feel that your shoulder blades, you can again do a little shimmy shimmy, feel your shoulder blades on the floor. You don't need to come any higher than that. And then peel yourself back down, trying to keep your pubic bones curled around until the very, very end of the sequence. And then you fully relax the length of your stomach muscles so that your pelvis can just reset into the floor. And again, low abdominals working to curl your pubic bones around and keep curling and curling and curling. And then feel your hip bones pulling towards your belly button. And then eventually you'll feel the backs of your legs start to activate, turn on, help to participate in the movement. Come on up until you get to the tips of your shoulder blades. And then just pause for a second. Are you still using your abdominal muscles to try and pull your pubic bones towards the wall behind you? Because they won't really in this position. They won't curl back the way they do at the beginning of the movement and the end of the movement, but you're still trying to use your stomach muscles to curl in that direction. And then you roll back down from your shoulder blades, mid rib cage, low rib cage, upper low back, low back. And then finally, very intentionally relax your stomach muscles so that your pelvis goes back to neutral. Nancy, your pelvis looks to actually be neutral, which is fantastic.
Yeah, the stomach muscles stop working as soon as the legs kick in, right? I take a holiday, or I can't really, I can't feel them. They feel like I need to, I don't know.
Okay. So that's a good, so everybody keep going. So start with your abdominal muscles. And then, yeah, you'll notice that your legs will kick in more. So and that's partly why you're trying to deliberately keep rolling your pubic bones back towards the wall behind you, because yeah, they're not carrying the load of your pelvis anymore. Your legs are now carrying the load of your pelvis. So you won't feel them as much, but you're still trying to do that roll back. You won't feel them as much. Peel back down. Find that nice, long, easy length. And then go into a hinge bridge. So now you're not using your stomach muscles. You're maintaining length between your ribs and your pelvis. Push your feet into the ground. Bring your hips up to whatever feels like a good height for you. And slowly come back down. So let's go for a 1 count up. So a real pop up. And then 5 counts to come down, really thinking about your pelvis being 1,000,000 pounds, and you have to control your descent. And you pop up and you slowly come down. So that pop up is all driven from your legs, it's feet pushing into the floor, right? It's not your back pushing you up. And then your hip muscles are resisting, they're like seat belts as you come down. 2 more, pop. Slowly descend, sit bones widening as you go. Last one. And come on down. On this next one, you don't need to pop. Let's go up in a 5 count. So feet pressing into the ground, toes spread wide. Really get your weight evenly distributed between your heels and the balls of your feet, knees reaching forward. Just that little extra 1 inch of knees reaching towards the front of your mat. And now pause at the top. Make sure your shoulder blades are heavy. Nice long line between your ribs and your pelvis. So there's no tucking your pubic bones back, right? We're staying in a long line. Reach your arms up for the ceiling. Inhale to stay. Make strong fists and exhale and press your arms back towards the wall behind you, only as far as you can go, keeping your weight really nicely heavy on your shoulder blades on the floor. And then pull your arms all the way down to the floor, the side where your hips would be if you were on the ground, and up to the ceiling, and back towards the wall behind you, and up to the ceiling, and down to the floor in front of you. And just keep tracking slowly. You've got these really good strong fists. You could pretend that you're holding 15-pound weights in each hand. Keep reaching your knees forward towards the wall in front of you. And check in with your feet. As you hold this position, is your weight evenly distributed across the inside and the outside edges of the balls of your feet? Unless that creates knee resistance for you, in which case you'll ease off and do whatever your body needs to do for your knees to feel okay. But generally, if you can get that heel to ball of foot ratio and the inside edge to outside edge of ball of foot ratio all level and even, this is a nasty amount of work for the backs of your legs and your hips. Last reach back. Pull your arms all the way forward, come down to the floor, open your hands, press your palms into the floor, bring your hips down. Excellent, excellent. And then stand up. So now let's stretch out your hamstrings. So you want a good, long, strong line from your heels to your hips. Think of your stomach muscles and your back muscles and the sides of your ribs all creating a really strong kind of wrap around your trunk from your ribs to your pelvis. And we're going to go for a hip hinge. So take your hands, bring your baby fingers into where the crease is going to be between your pelvis and your legs. And then fold your hip bones over your hands. And you go only as far as you can go with your legs straight without rounding your back, without straining your knees. And then use your hamstrings like a drawbridge to lever yourself back up, which is not stretching. Now it's working. Slowly hinge down. Be really intentional about moving your pelvis on top of your legs, keeping your ribs in line with your shoulders and your pelvis. Pause, long through the back of your neck, and then hinge back up again. So your whole upper body is traveling as a unit every time. If you have tight hips and hamstrings, you may only be hinging a couple of inches, and that's fine. If your back does not love this, make sure that you're letting your head fall forward a little bit, that you're not inadvertently doing this as you come down, right? And really pulling into your back. You want strength at the front. Last one like this. Hinge forward, really feel for that fold. If there isn't an actual hingy fold happening right here at the fronts of your hips, if it's rounding, then you're tucking and flexing your spine. We really want to feel that angle. And you come on back up. From there, bend your knees. Bend your knees and send your butt back a little bit. So you're making a bit of a zigzag shape as opposed to you're bending your knees way forward over your toes and your butt is also coming forward. And then you do exactly the same thing. Feet planted into the ground, heels particularly nicely weighted. Fold over your hands. Your range is probably going to be bigger. You may be able to go farther. You're still keeping the long line and hop back up. Long line through the back of your neck. Fold forward. Pause. Feel the weight of your feet. Check in with your legs. Are your knees pointing forward? And then use your hips and the backs of your legs to bring you back up. Hinge forward, long spine, even equal amounts of work, stomach muscles and back muscles. And come back up. Last two. Good. And last one. Hinge, hold, and come on back up. Nice. Excellent. So is anybody not feeling that somewhere along the backs of your hips and the backs of your legs? And you absolutely can be feeling this as back work, but we want it to feel like nice, good, strong back work because your back muscles are what is keeping your back in that long line. But the coming up and down is really hippie and leggy. We're all good? Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, so from there, we shall do a little bit of calf work. So if you know your balance is a little bit dodgy, please feel free to go to a wall or a piece of furniture. We're going to start with your legs hip distance apart, but like a generous hip distance apart. So not here, but get yourself a good base of support. Have your feet pointing forward unless that creates knee pain for you. And notice if you have your feet pointing straight forward and you bend your knees, where do they, if you don't manage them, where do they point? Most of us, they'll point a little bit in. Yeah, exactly, Laura, a little bit in. So just notice that. And then super glue the balls of your feet to the floor, particularly the inside edge in line with your big toe, and slowly lift your heels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Like take a nice long time to come up, hold at the top, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to come back down. So really give your calf muscles time to contract, 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 contract as you lift, hold. And then a nice long time to do this eccentric loading, right? So the muscles are working to control your body weight as they gradually get longer when you come back down. You may feel this all the way up to your glutes. That would be fine. Woo! You may have to catch your balance a couple of times. That would also be fine. Slowly come back down. The going slowly challenges your balance more, right? That's one of the reasons for doing this slowly. Hold at the top. Slowly back down. And 2 more like that. Slow lift. Try to come straight up. Try to avoid coming forward any more than you have to. And slowly back down. And last one. Up. Hold. And down. Plant. And then step back. Press your, whichever foot you've taken back, press that heel towards the floor. Just get some length through your calf. You want to put some weight into the heel of the forward leg so that your lunge is held more from the back of your forward leg than it is from the front, from your thigh. Really press your heel into the floor, but also try and keep your ribs dropped. So you've got some abdominal connection at the front. You may have some glute and hamstring action. Length through your calf, fold your hands over your chest, and then twist to the left. Sorry. Whichever leg is your back leg, I have my right leg back, I'm gonna twist to the left. If you have your left leg back, you're gonna twist to the right. And twist. And center. You don't need to twist as far as you can possibly go. If you have bone density issues, you're definitely not twisting as far as you can go. We're looking to maintain height and length through your spine, and we're looking to keep your ribs dropping down as you twist, so there's no rib popping. 2 more. And last one. And then come on back to center, step forward, step back with the other foot. Same thing, get yourself all nicely set, pelvis pointing forward, ribs dropped, heel reaching, glutes and hamstrings strong, like you're actively pressing your leg back towards the wall behind you. Connect into the heel of your forward foot. I mean, you don't have to lift the front of your foot off the floor, but just keep a little extra weight into the heel to trigger a response through your glutes and hamstrings. Nice long spine, fold your hands across your chest. And twist away from the stretching backside. Last 2. And last one. Come on to center. Step up and forward. Shake out your legs. Come back to your stance, but bring your legs a little narrower. So this time they really are exactly hip distance apart. So you find your hip bones and you're coming in a straight line down from there. And this time we're not going to go slowly. We're going to go fast. Lift, lower, lift. It's more like a pop, 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 pop. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. When you're going faster like that, it might be easier to keep your weight evenly across the balls of your feet, but do still pay attention to keeping that big toe side, the inside edge of your foot planted. And then we go again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down. If you have a yoga block or a squishy ball, grab that prop. Block is going to be a little bit more stable. Have a sip of your tea. Block goes halfway between your knees and your pelvis. So now your feet are even closer than hip distance apart. And we're going to start with fast. So squeeze the block or the ball and lift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. Super plant the inside edge, the big toe side of your foot. Keep that planted and lift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come on down. Pause. And then we're going to do the slow up, hold at the top, and slow back down. Oh, my calves are very awake now. Everybody else have calves that are moderately jazzy now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So slow lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Squeeze the block and hold. And down. 2, 3, 4, 5. Set. Lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. And down. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just kind of take that moment, get your pelvis over your heels, squeeze the block, set your trunk, and lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. And down. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've been doing this with your legs straight, which really gets your upper calf muscles. So now bend your knees a little bit. And the challenge here is to keep the same amount of knee bend all the time. Squeeze the block, knees bent, and then lift. And this uses the lower calf muscles rather than the upper. And down, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lift. Hold. Lower. Hold. Lift. Keep those knees bent. And come on back down. Can everybody turn sideways to their camera for me? Thank you. So I can spy on you more effectively. Bend your knees more, Nancy. Lovely. Jean, your knees are bent beautifully. Can you also stick your butt back a little bit in your, yeah, there you go. Excellent. Complete one more wherever you are in your cycle. Nice recovery, Laura.
The kitchen sink coming in handy.
Kitchen sinks are amazing. You can do all kinds of great things with a kitchen sink. Okay, calves on fire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fabulous, fabulous. So we're going to go back into our lunge, stretch out the calves. So again, I don't care which leg you take back because we're going to do both of them. Actually, everybody start with your right leg back, and that way what I say applies to everyone. So definitely feel that reach of your heel towards the floor. And then notice if your body is upright and you're reaching to your heel to the floor, that you may have this flare of your ribs. So you are definitely trying to get your rib cage pointing straight down to the floor, which requires a little bit of abdominal work. Weight into your forward heel so that you're not straining through your quad and your knee. You're really working through your glutes and hamstrings. And this time, bring your arms out to your sides with your palms facing the ceiling. And again, keep your rib cage pointing straight down as you twist to the left. And come back to center. And as you're twisting and coming back to center, try to keep your heel, your back heel pressing towards the floor, and try to keep your weight reasonably planted equally across the balls of your feet. Right, so that width across the ball of your foot so you don't roll off one side or the other. Last 2. And last one. And then come on back in, bring your arms down, step your right foot forward, send your left foot back. Press your heel to the floor, engage some support around your hip by really trying to actively push your thigh bone and your hip back, but also bringing your pubic bones a little forward and your ribs a little down. If you tend towards hypermobility, this is always a good combo for me because I can kind of get into this shape really easily and kind of rest into my ligaments when I'm doing it. So you can, if that feels like that's you, if this feels very wobbly, you can think of pulling, your feet are not going to move on the floor, but it's like you're going to pull your front heel back towards your back toes and vice versa. And that you're going to squeeze in on both sides of your hips. So you can imagine your big Frankenstein bolts so that your legs are super strong and active. You're not just standing here, you're working into this position. Ribs pointing towards the floor, arms out to your sides, palms facing the ceiling. And this time you twist to the right, right? So you're twisting your trunk away from the stretching hip. And you turn and you come back to center. So ideally, your pelvis isn't moving while you do this. Your lower back's not even moving all that much. We're really kind of rotating through your upper spine, across your shoulders, your collarbones. Jenny, think of your forward leg and just like, yes, exactly. And if you can, think of that movement So you're still getting the support of heels and toes pulling towards each other and side butt active. So you're pulling in on the sides of your pelvis, but you're pulling out the very top of your leg bone just before it gets to your hip, right? So it's not just coming from your knee. Laura.
Yeah.
So everybody do a couple more. Really think about your pelvis only pointing forward.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Right. So your lower abdominal muscles are working to hold everything still, and your upper abdominal and back muscles are doing the turning. It's not exactly what's happening, but it's not a bad image.
Yeah.
All right. You can come out of that, shake out your legs.
That pulling your legs together, like this way.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Changes it, doesn't it? I was already teaching Pilates. So I was well into my 30s before it dawned on me, after having spent years as a distance swimmer, that you could actually exert effort and pull your arm through the water and you would go faster, but you couldn't go for as long. My body does not, of its own volition, create effort. It creates huge amounts of mobility.
Right.
No problem. It's not really mobility, it's flex. I have, yeah, like that hypermobile body type.
Yeah.
Adding in cognitive cues to create effort both makes things more supportive and more accessible, but also it makes things very tiring.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so come on down back to the floor. We're going to go back to moving your spine. So cat cow, middle fingers pointing forward, fingers spread wide. Press the whole length of your fingers right to your fingertips into the floor, so you're not just sinking into your wrists. You can do whatever you prefer with your feet, right? You can tuck your toes into the floor, you can leave your feet lying flat, whatever's less likely to create foot cramping for you, if that's a thing. And then think about your spine. Totally relax into the effortless. Shoulder blades come together, head flops down, ribs flop towards the floor. You'll probably feel that parts of your hands pop off the ground. So start from your hands. Press the whole surface of your hands into the floor. Press your elbows towards the floor. Press your shoulders towards the floor. Widen your collarbones. Bring your shoulders directly over your wrists. And then from this totally slopped down towards the floor, relaxed back, don't tuck your butt, just lift the base of your ribs up. So what we're looking for is maintaining the curves of your back without kind of overdoing either direction. This is your center position. This is what you're going to go back to each time. Same as when we did our roll up, create the roll of your cat-cow from your abdominal muscles. So curl your pubic bones towards your belly button and just keep curling and just keep curling and just keep curling. And just keep curling as you go through your spine. If you have osteoporosis, you're not going to go to your end range. You're not going into as much flexion as you have access to. You can stop at about, kind of like a 70% mark. And then you slowly come back to that working neutral position where you've maintained the support of your shoulder blades. You're pressing your arms into the floor, long through the back of your neck, a little bit lifted through the base of your ribs, untucked through your butt. And then keep your pelvis and your lower back where they are. We're not actually really going to move there very much as you slide into the extension for your upper back. So your upper back muscles are shortening. You're lengthening your abdominal muscles. Your chest comes forward, collarbones wide and open, still pressing your hands into the floor. And then come back to your working neutral. And again, start from your tailbone. Only thing moving is your tailbone, and the only thing moving is your sacrum, and then only your low back. Really focus on getting space between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. Come all the way through until the crown of your head is reaching towards your tailbone, modifying the degree of your flexion to meet your bony needs. Pause, feel for the ab work. This isn't as much about the back stretch for me, although that's there, as it is about supporting that back stretch by contracting your stomach muscles from the front. And then slowly lengthen your stomach muscles as you come back to your working midpoint. Nice. Oh, that's lovely. Pause. And then your pelvis and your low back basically stay where they are and curve into your upper back. So you're opening your collarbones, you're working your upper back muscles to pull the backs of the vertebrae together. And this can be a very small motion if you don't have a lot of mobility in your spine. So don't go into your neck. Excellent. Really lovely. Come back to your working neutral. Awesome. And then come back into a child's pose. Take the pressure off your hands. Feel free to support yourself however you need to in a child's pose. So that could mean putting something behind your knees or in front of your hips or under your head, so that you are completely comfortable and you have an acceptable amount of curve, right? If you're pretty mobile, you've got a little curve and that's fine. If you tend to be really, really snug in your hips, and this is a big position, you've ended up with a lot of rounding through your spine, then prop yourself up a little bit at the front if you have bone stuff or if that's uncomfortable. And then in this position, take a couple of breaths, really focusing on the idea that you are widening across the backs of your ribs as you inhale. You are widening across the back of your pelvis as you inhale. You're widening between your sit bones. And then as you exhale, you just relax. And that widening diminishes because it is a result of the change in pressure when you breathe in. One more time, nice big breath in. And let it all go. And then come back up onto your hands. Again, set your hands so you're really well spread through your fingers, pressing your fingertips in towards the floor. Look at your legs. And generally, if you've got both legs on the floor, they're pretty vertical. You want to make sure they're coming straight down from your hip sockets, so they're not too close together or too far apart. And then straighten out your left leg and your right arm. So your fingers and toes are still on the floor, long, straight arm and leg. Now look at your right leg and make sure that it's still vertical. Typically what happens is you'll slide your pelvis to the side. Your leg will be on an angle. So you're going to bring your pelvis to center and hold it there. And exhale and lift your arm and leg, and inhale and bring them back down. Exhale to lift. They don't need to go really high, and slide back down. Reach and return. We're mostly interested in the core work here that is generated by keeping your right leg straight up and down, more than we're trying to have a great big arm and leg motion. Be lovely if you could feel your left glutes working and your left hamstrings to generate the leg lift.
Mhm.
Last two. Excellent. And last one. Fabulous. Come all the way back down. Come off your hands. Roll out your wrists for a second. Just because I know this adds up. And then come on back down. Reset. Again, kind of look at your legs, make sure that they are hip distance apart to start with. Straighten out your left arm and your right leg, fingers and toes still on the floor. Reassess that position of your left leg. Is it still vertical or did it shift as soon as you moved your other limbs? And then exhale, lift. Inhale, tap back down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, tap back down. So as you're lifting and lowering, and you're keeping your leg vertical, You want to also keep your pelvis level to the ceiling. Yes, thank you, Nancy. That was lovely. And you can think of your stomach muscles kind of sliding up to meet your bones. All of them, the whole width of your abdominal wall, the whole distance from your ribs to your pelvis. There's no one spot. You're really looking at that big, wide combination. Last one. Excellent. Come on back down and then come off your hands. And you can roll over onto your side. If you have something to support your head, great. If you don't, you can use your bottom arm. Top knee either down on the floor or on top of your bottom leg or on a bolster or a block, whatever leg position works best for you, for your hips and your back. And then reach your top arm for the ceiling. Superset your trunk. So if you were to imagine like lasers coming out of your pubic bones, your belly button, the base of your ribs, and the center of your chest, they're all pointing forward and they don't move as you take your arms straight back. So there's no twisting at the moment. There's just arm and shoulder sockets. So stretch across the front and work across the back of your shoulder. So you're not just relaxing your arm back, you're using your muscles to push back and then come all the way forward, either onto your bottom hand or the floor if you're using your bottom arm to support your head. Press your arm up, set your stomach muscles so that your chest stays pointing forward, use your shoulder muscles to come back. So there's an opposition here, right? Your body is going this way as your arm goes that way. Arm comes all the way forward and arm goes back. 3. And 2. And last one. Press back, stay back. Again, this is not a relaxed drop back. This is a deliberate, use your muscles to pull back and then make a half windmill shape. Arm comes up towards your ear and then press back and down towards your hip. And as you do this, your arm will kind of rotate a little bit in and out. The height that your arm is at will shift and change depending on where you are in your arc. That's all fine. What you're really focusing on is making sure you're not just floppy relaxing back into it, and that you're keeping your trunk stable. Last one. And then relax, switch out your legs, bend the bottom leg, straighten out the top leg. Keep that same lasers pointing straight forward. But this time you're also going to have a laser coming out the front of your top hip, so that as you lift your leg, you can't see any motion of your pelvis. Lift, and then come all the way down and bring the inside edge of your foot to the floor. Press in a little bit, inner thighs working, and then slowly press up, only as far as you can go without moving your spine or your pelvis, and pull down. And press up. And pull down. 3. And 2. And last one. And then relax your leg and flip over. Same thing, other side. So set your legs in whatever feels right on this side, bottom arm reaching out in front of you unless you're using it for head support. Top arm for the ceiling. Oh, take a yawn. Set your trunk. superset, and then press back. And pull all the way forward, bring your hands together, press your top hand into your bottom hand. And then pull up, use your shoulder muscles. Imagine your arm weighs a gazillion pounds. And it's really not unusual for this to feel quite different from one side to the other, right? More range or less range. Difference in how easy it is to access the muscles to make this a muscle driven motion rather than a relaxing motion.
Mhm.
Degree of stretch across the front of your chest definitely tends to be different from one side to the other. Couple more. Last one. And now keep that same sense of you're using your muscles deliberately from your shoulder joint to make this happen, and go for your big hip to head arc. Double check that your trunk is still pointing forward, and we'll do one more in each direction. And then you can bring your arm back down to release, flip your legs, add your extra laser. So you're still super set in terms of rocking forward and backwards, but you're also adding this rocking up and down element. So it's like you've got an L shape of lasers, and they're not going to move. And you press your leg up. Side butt, right? The goal here is to really feel this work in your side butt. And the more you let your pelvis tip, the less you will feel your side butt. And then pull down, actively press the inside edge of your foot towards the floor so you feel your inner thighs.
Mhm.
Push up. And pull down. So Jamie made braised oxtail for dinner last night. Oh my God, it was so good. I haven't had oxtail in years. My mom used to make it as more like a soup.
Yeah.
I forgot how absolutely delicious it is. But I don't know, depending on how old you are, you may have a memory of oxtail as like, it's an offcut, it's super cheap. It is no longer super cheap.
I bet. Is it a stew?
Delicate.
Carrots, potatoes and the whole thing, or
Pardon me?
is it a stew? Like a,
Well, no, it was I mean, you could do it as a stew, but it was braised, so it was more more saucy-ish. Like he braised it with carrots and onions and garlic, and he threw in a couple of potatoes just for some thickening. Last lift. And then come back down. And then he took all the oxtail out and used the immersion blender to turn everything that he'd used in with the stock to turn it into a
oh,
thick.
lovely.
Yeah, and then we had it on top of mashed potatoes. It was so good.
Delicious.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right. Stand up if you would, please. So we'll finish with the archer. So we're going to rotate in our lunge again, but we're going to change how we do it. So step your right foot back. Press your heel to the floor. Connect across the balls of your feet and your heels on both feet, right? So you're not pressing your knee forward and landing into the ball of your foot on your front leg, you're pressing into your heel. And then think of this idea of pulling your heels to your toes and your toes to your heels. Superset your side butt bolts, drop your ribs. Bring both arms forward, so it's your right hip, the front of your right hip that's stretching, and the back of your right calf and your right ankle. And now pull your left arm back as though you were doing archery, which means you have to push forward actively and pull back actively. Again, there's this resistance in both directions. Woo! Come to center. Excellent balance challenge. Pull and come to center. And pull. Connect into your heels, pull your legs together, connect your side butt bolts. Don't pull your legs together so much that you actually pull your legs together. I'm going to keep your right knee pointing forward, left knee, sorry, pointing straight forward. Last two.
So good.
Last one. Come to center, relax your arms, step your right foot forward, left foot back. Same thing. Plant your feet, get that really good set. Imagine pulling your legs together, but don't actually let them pull in space. Set your side butt bolts, arms forward, and then you're gonna pull the other side, pull your right arm back. And as you do that, you're twisting slightly, yes, to the right. And push forward and pull back and push forward. So Jenny, I think allow for a little bit more, so less just your shoulder and a little bit more actual turn your chest as you go. It might just be, you might be turning, it might just be your shirt. It might be what I can see on the, yeah, there you go. Nice. Excellent. Beautiful. Good. Last one. Excellent. Come on back to center, step your foot forward, relax your arms, and then come back to that assessment. If your legs are hip distance apart and your feet are pointing straight forward by eye, not by what feels forward, because turned out can feel forward. If you do a little knee bend, where are your knees pointing now?
Right.
Straight forward. Excellent. 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 Love it. All right. So for those of you that I don't see tomorrow, Merry Christmas, if you celebrate.
Merry
And
Christmas.
merry couple of days off if you don't celebrate.
Yeah.
And thanks for being here.